Hello, this is Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And as you can see, I have a friend with me today. This is David Ricklin. He is the president and founder of Self-Improvement Online Incorporated. He is the leading provider, amazing accomplishment, of self-improvement and personal growth on the internet. It's truly remarkable what he has created because his company was founded in 1998 and he now maintains multiple websites on self-improvement, natural health, marketing, and sales that include selfgrowth.com, selfgrowthmarketing.com, naturalhealthweb.com, and masteringtheworld.com. His premier self-improvement website, which is selfgrowth.com, gets over 2 million visitors a month, and his company also publishes 3 email newsletters going out to over 500,000 weekly subscribers on the topic of self-improvement, natural health, personal growth, relationships, home business, sales skills, and brain improvement. And David's first book, Self-Improvement, the Top 101 Experts Who Help Us Improve Our Lives, has been praised by leading industry experts as the encyclopedia of self-improvement. And that book's success motivated him to continue publishing books which seek to improve the lives of others. I know I have personally contributed to your books as well. He has a degree in chemical engineering from the State University of New York at Buffalo and has 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, management, and training for companies such as Hewlett-Packard and Memory Training Institute. His interest in self-improvement and personal growth began over 20 years ago, and he was defined through his work as an instructor for Dale Carnegie's training and as a performance-based training company. So, David, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that we're talking, and I just have one question for you because I know you talk about there's 10 commandments of self-improvement. So I would just love to hear what you're up to and what that is.
Sure. Let me give you a little bit of background on where this came from, this quote-unquote 10 commandments, and work our way through it. And then I actually want to share the 10 commandments, what we consider the 10 commandments.
Perfect.
So one of the things you mentioned when you're reading my bio, and thank you very much, it reminded me of how many things I've accomplished and how many things I've had a good team helping along the way. So they've been doing a lot of the work in the background. And one of the interesting things, you mentioned this book we did on the top 101 experts. And one of my focuses with my business and our main website, selfgrowth.com, was really to aggregate information, to collect information on all the top experts, the Dr. Phils, the Tony Robbins, the Zig Ziglars, the Brian Tracy's. And while I was creating this book, I kept going through my mind and saying, look, there's hundreds and hundreds of experts. There's thousands of suggestions that they each have and all these different systems and techniques. Are there any patterns that keep coming up time and time again? And we started to analyze and evaluate all these success experts. And I started looking at them and saying, what's similar? What are things that are coming up over and over again? And what I was able to do is identify literally 10 things that kept coming up over and over again. And we were looking through these and trying to figure out which were coming up most often. And we decided to identify these as the quote-unquote 10 commandments of self-improvement. It made sense. All the experts are spouting them. Let's go with it. So what I'd like to do, and we can do this relatively quickly for folks who want to jot them down, I'm going to go through the 10 commandments. And as I go through them, I think a lot of people and yourself are going to realize that, wait a minute, I'm aware of these. These are things we're aware of. And then we could touch on, if we're aware of all these, what's really stopping us from doing it. So let's quickly go through these and we'll check in with you as well to make sure that you're familiar with them.
I just like to say something too, and I learned this from T. Harv Eker years ago, is that even though you know something, do you really know something? So you might have heard something, you might get it conceptually, but really allow the greater part of your being to soak this in and see if it shifts you in some way, and that if you maybe hear it from David in a different way than you've heard before, and be open. Because if you're like, yeah, heard that one, you're already closed down, and you can't really observe the gift that's in this moment. So I just wanted to say that. So go ahead, David.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate the other perspective over here. Yeah. So the first one that everybody talks about is taking responsibility. And we all know this. We taught this when we were a kid. Make your bed. Take responsibility. So that's the first one. And it's not only take responsibility for a specific area, you need to take responsibility and ownership for everything in your life. The question we'll come back to is, well, why aren't we? The number two is take action. If you're taking responsibility without action, you're not going to make progress. Number 3 is understand your desire. You need to really tap into this. You need to understand what's driving you, what you want, what your desire is. And then you need to turn your desire into what I call number 4 and 5, into setting goals, which is number 4, and then developing a plan of action, which is number 5. So just quickly, just to review, take responsibility, take action, have strong desires, set goals, and then develop a plan. So those are the first 5, relatively simple. People are familiar with it. And then the next ones, a lot of folks might be, and we're pushing a little bit, and you'll see what people are saying. So the next one is you need to be prepared to pay the price, meaning if you want to accomplish something, you need to give something. If you want to be a doctor, guess what? You're going to need to go to medical school. And then the next one ties into this. You need to be persistent. So you need to persist. You can't just do it for 15 minutes, an hour, a week. Sometimes you really need to focus, and you really need to accomplish things. And the next one's an interesting one because a lot of people don't have it. It's a belief. You need a very strong belief in your ability to accomplish what that is. But what's interesting is even if you have these first 8, if you don't have number 9, which is learn from your mistakes. You need to learn from your mistakes because guess what? If you're taking action, if you're taking responsibility, if you have desires, you're going to be making mistakes along the route. So you need to be prepared to learn from your mistakes. The next one after this, and this is really the final one, and this is a powerful one that a lot of people believe in, you need to be able to visualize or picture your success. And it could be a visual picture. You need to kind of see, hear, taste this. So these were what we consider the 10 commandments of self-improvement. But one of the interesting things, I'll put it out to you, are these new or enlightened piece of information, or are most people familiar with a lot of these?
Most people are. If you're in personal development, you're familiar and heard some of them, all of them, and yeah, you've heard them probably repeatedly.
Exactly. We've all heard these repeatedly. So the question becomes, we know these, and these are the quote-unquote 10 commandments, the 10 things we hear all the time. If we know all these, why aren't we doing them? And for each one of them, we don't have a lot of time to spend on all of them today, but we can touch on a couple of them. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, all right, these are the quote-unquote 10 most important things that all these experts are telling us to do. Why aren't we doing them? And we could just take a minute and focus on a couple of them.
Perfect.
So the one I want to focus on right now tends to be the biggest challenge for a lot of people. They know in their heart, yes, they need to take responsibility. And what happens is they get stuck. They're not prepared to take action on it. So let's just take a couple of minutes in the time that we have today to talk about this one. So the question becomes, all right, we need to take action. We're not taking action. Why aren't we taking action? And there's a few obvious things, and then I'll give a couple of suggestions on how to overcome some of these. So the first one, and you've probably seen it, you've been coaching for years, working with coaches, is fear.
Yeah.
Fear is probably the number one factor, and we know it. We know it. We have, sometimes we put our list together of things we need to do. We jot it out. We develop a plan, and then we're just staring at it, or we're stuck with this. There's one particular thing that they're focused on. And what I like to suggest, of fear is the main thing that's stopping you in a particular situation, is to use, there's a number of approaches, but one of the approaches that I like the most is what I'd consider a cognitive approach. And it's a matter of asking yourself a series of very simple questions. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, this fear that I have that's stopping me, is this fear a real fear? Or is it a false fear? Fear, is it something that's really going to impact me? So what do you want to look at? Fear is there for a reason. For example, there are things we shouldn't be doing. You might have a business opportunity, but it requires you to put 100% of your income into this business opportunity, and there's a high risk associated with it. So fear is actually there for a good reason. It's there to stop us. It's there to stop us from making mistakes. But you need to take a look at this fear and say, all right, if I follow through on this specific action, first, what's going to be the downside risk? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And generally, some of the things that might happen is you look silly. So guess what? We're all going to look silly at some point of our life. Another one is we lose time or we waste time. Guess what? If you're learning from this experience, it's not a loss of time. It's an investment in your education. Or you might be losing some money, or you might be losing something emotionally. So you need to really understand what it is, your potential downside. And then once you get that, you have a good grasp on that. The next thing I want you to do, and this ties into the visualization, is start thinking about what the upside potential is. For example, let's say you want to be a coach or take Christy's coaching program. Yeah, there's an investment to be made, so there's and time to be spent, but you need to take a look at what the upside is.
Yes.
And what's the upside in that particular case, that situation? The upside is you can change your career. The upside is suddenly you get the skills to become a coach and make a career change, and you can generate a lot more income, and you can help a lot more people. So you need to really understand the balance beside the downside and the upside. And the challenge for a lot of folks is once they do that, a lot of people will realize that the upside potential is so great that it'll help propel them. And it'll also help you tap into your desire. So that's kind of a very simple thing. And just to get a sense, how much time do we have left? Because there's a lot of other approaches we could take as well.
I'd say a good 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of others. And relative to things stopping us from taking action, sometimes it's complacency.
Yes.
And this is a big one for a lot of people. And one of my favorite books is called Good to Great. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Jim Collins, Good to Great. It's really a business book. And it's a business book that analyzes the best companies out there. So at the time, it was analyzing the Hewlett-Packards of the world, the IBMs, all the best companies. And now it would be kind of the Microsofts, the Googles of the world. And they were trying to figure out, what are the challenges? Why are these companies great? And what they found, that for a lot of companies, was that good was the enemy of great. So what do I mean by that? And what do you mean by that? It's very simple. What happens is things get to be good enough. And we'll go back to the coaching example. So you have a job, you're making some money, and you're getting your paycheck, and you have enough money you're going out with your friends, and it's okay. You don't have a lot of money, but it's paying the bills. It's good enough.
Yes.
And what happens is good then becomes an enemy of great. So you need to really understand what you want to accomplish. And this goes back into tapping in your desires, which was number 3. So if you understand what your desires are, it's going to propel you. It's literally going to drive you to greatness. And sometimes there's a lot of other things that stop people from taking action. Sometimes it's just all the things that are distracting us. We have so many distractions. It's so easy to get distracted with our cell phones, our computers. We get distracted by things, so you need to figure out what those are. Sometimes it's just the energy to do things. So you really need to understand what's stopping you from taking action.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something. I have a memory that came up, and I haven't thought about this in years, because what you were talking about from good to great, I remember years ago, I was a pharmaceutical rep. I was making good money, life was good, right? And I went and saw Terry Cole Whitaker speak at the Religious Science Church, and I was like, I was so amazed, because she had so much passion. She had so much aliveness, and I was going, well, I felt like good, but it's like, I just certainly don't have that kind of passion. And what you're talking about, it's like, I had to really change within myself, but I had to have that willingness and take the action to go from where I was now to where I am now, because my life is great now. It was good. It was complacent, but it was like, it's great now, but it's exactly what you're saying. So that memory came up, and I wanted to share that.
Well, it's interesting, because one of the challenges, remember, one of the points was have persistence, which is difficult because we get sidetracked all the time. So one of the great ways to maintain persistence is to find people to model after. Find people, develop relationships with people, hear people who are going to motivate you, to propel you. Because guess what? We're going to be distracted. We'll all get distracted by the next shiny new object that comes our way, and there's a lot of shiny new objects out there.
Yes.
If you have internet access and an email, you know about shiny new objects.
Yes.
In this industry, we know a lot about shiny new objects. So you need to really develop a system that's going to enable you to maintain. And one of the ones you mentioned is find people to model where you can literally tap into their energy, tap into their power, and literally absorb their power. It's kind of like X-Men, where you're absorbing other people's energy. But the interesting thing about it is when you absorb their energy, not only are you giving yourself energy, but you're actually giving them energy back. So people love that. You're not actually taking their energy. It's increasing the energy of both parties.
Yes.
So it's a powerful concept in terms of leveraging other people that are out there.
Awesome. David, and it's amazing from that space too. It's like it's a perfect place to send people to selfgrowth.com because there's so many people there. You have so many experts, and I know I'm the abundance person on selfgrowth.com, and there you have so many different aspects, whether it's parenting or law of attraction or different areas and expertise, business, spirituality. I mean, everywhere you want to go if you want to improve yourself, it's like a one-stop shop for anything you want and whatever you're looking, whatever that desire is, where you can get your information and possibly help you take the next step so that you're doing those 10 commandments.
Exactly. And that's really our focus with selfgrowth.com, is to bring together articles and videos and experts in a community where someone can come and learn the best ways to apply these 10 commandments and piece it together for themselves and develop the plan that they need to tap into their energy and drive them to where they want to go.
Well, I love what you've done. You've created an amazing site with many just amazing resources and help for people to go to their next level. So thank you for doing that. And it's been amazing having you on the show. Thank you for, sharing the 10 commandments there. I'm sure you could have so much of a wealth of information, each one of them. So to learn more about David and all the experts that are on selfgrowth.com, go over there and we'll definitely have a link under the video. And for you, my family, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you're taking away from this information. Which one of the 10 commandments do you feel that you can really start to hone in on a little bit more and to start applying in your life so that you can shift and get to that next level in your life? Thank you so much and have a great week.